Andrew comes in with a really good question today.
And it is, he has an ASRock X370 Fatality motherboard with a 1700X. He wants to put the best CPU upgrade he can in it. He plays mostly games Warzone and Star Citizen, 144 Hz. Can I put a 3800X or a 3900X in that motherboard?
Well, that's a great question. Now, an X370 motherboard and a Ryzen 7 1700X are a great combo. They came out at the same time. If you've updated your BIOS, if Windows is up to date, if your AMD motherboard drivers are up to date, that's a nice combination. Now, 144 Hertz, 144 frames per second in Warzone on a 1700X, that's a challenge. No matter what your video card is, you are CPU bound because your individual core speed isn't as fast as the more modern options. It's not bad, it'll be smooth, it just won't be very fast compared to, say, a 3700X or 3900X. Here's the bigger problem, and I understand why he wants to upgrade. Call of Duty Warzone and Star Citizen will run much better on a Ryzen 9 3900X, which is totally what I'd upgrade to. You've got 8 cores now. If you're going to go to a new CPU for those kinds of games, don't just upgrade the cores, add more cores. A 3900X gives you 50% more cores. If you're going to upgrade, upgrade.
12 cores.
Yeah. Here's the problem. We have installed Zen 2 on many 300 and 400 series boards with mixed degrees of success. Let me interject here before everybody runs to the comment section and goes, but I upgraded on my computer and it worked fine. Good for you. It does mostly work for most people. But the conditions applied to that are so varied. Some motherboards are better than others. Some BIOS updates were tested more than others. Some people have different revisions of boards. I know for a fact that ASRock retired and replaced several of their 300 series boards. I had one. It was the Gaming K4 X370 because it had a flaw with its ability to run memory. There were some issues with some of those, so I ended up retiring it myself because they came out with a replacement. We have put on some very premium X370 boards. We've got a X370 Crosshair Hero 6.
Do.
That is in your computer at home on a Ryzen 5 3600X.
Correct.
We've put a Ryzen 7 3700X on a Gigabyte X370 Gaming K7. That was a $240 premium motherboard. We've done a couple of cheaper boards. I've got one of those El Cheapo $79 Asus B350M Prime boards that has no heat sinks on it.
True.
And I've done a variety of 400 series boards. I've done the B450 Tomahawk, the non-max version. We did the X470 MSI Gaming Plus.
We did.
I could spend the next several minutes going through all the different boards we've tried. We swap and play with a lot of hardware. In fact, our streaming computer here has an Asus X370 Prime Pro full-size ATX board that we upgraded, and it's got a Zen Plus on it, not a Zen 2.
Yep.
In all of that experience, the biggest single royal fat pain in the butt that we've had is trying to get Zen 2 to work on 300 series boards. Both the X370 Asus Crosshair Hero 6 and the Gigabyte X370 Gaming K7 bricked when trying to do it the first time. In fact, it took several hours of reverting BIOS versions, and we ended up having to do it a few at a time to get it stable. When we tried to make too large of a BIOS leap going from a very old to a very new version, the system wouldn't boot. We actually had to use BIOS flashback on both boards using a USB thumb drive. Thank God they both had BIOS flashback. I did have another X370 that bricked outright. That was the MSI... That was actually my review sample from launch, the titanium. They did send me another one, which was nice, but that was because I emailed them and said, would you please send me another board? But that never recovered. I never got that board back. I still have that. It's upstairs, but it's a brick. It will never boot again. So the 300 series never officially supported Zen 2. Yes, most of the 300 series boards all do support Zen 2, but they were beta BIOSes initially, and then some manufacturers took the beta BIOS update. But you were there with me when we did the one at home with the 3700.
Yep.
That took us, what, 4 hours?
It took us a long time.
And we have A, another computer sitting next to us to go through all that.
Yep.
B, not our first rodeo.
Correct.
C, if it all else fails, I could rip the motherboard out and grab one off the shelf because whatever. I mean, I've got spares.
Yep, that's very true.
What would the average person do? Up Pooh Creek without a paddle.
Yeah, if they didn't have spares, and a lot of people don't have spares.
So if he takes his ASRock X370 Fatality, updates the BIOS, and tries to put Zen 2 on it,
And it bricks.
what's he going to do?
Do you have a spare computer?
And what happens if he does it, puts it in, and then it mostly works,
and then it
and
doesn't?
occasionally blue screens?
Or completely kicks you out of a game?
Or is just not perfectly stable. Let me put it this way. Okay. I have had enough headaches with it. I put my money where my mouth is because I give a lot of advice. And I think a lot of people say, well, talk is cheap. Yes, it is. This is an ASRock B550M Steel Legend, not a product sample. ASRock has sent me motherboards. This is not one of them. I bought this about 2 weeks ago now. In fact, it's a deal today on this live stream, although if you're watching us on Byte Size Tech, it won't matter because it'll be expired. $129 with a $20 mail-in rebate, $110. This is going to replace the B350M Prime motherboard in my youngest son's computer because we're going to upgrade him.
Yep, we are.
And I'm just not going to put Zen 2 or 3.
We're just not going to bother.
I have better things to do with my life than to screw with that. Now, my daughter has a B350 Tomahawk from MSI at home, and she has a Ryzen 7 1700. We are going to upgrade her as well. Yeah, I'm not playing that game. Now, the Tomahawks are good boards. I like the Tomahawks. If you're looking at a B550 or an X570 Tomahawk, I recommend those boards. They're great choices.
Oh, look.
I bought this Asus ROG Strix B550 last week. This was $159 off of Newegg. That a deal. It's not current at the moment, but it was $159. And I'm going to replace her B350 Tomahawk.
With this.
Because I am done trying to put Zen 2 onto 300 series motherboards. It's not worth my frustration or time. Here's the thing. Both our two youngest kids have a Ryzen 7 1700, and I'm going to give Andrew the same advice that I am personally following. I'm going to take the 350 motherboards out of their system with the CPU and the cooler and the RAM that's currently in school. They got 16 gigs of RAM.
Because it all works.
It all works. Those systems are very stable. They are very reliable. 16 gigs of RAM, a Ryzen 7 1700, and a B350 motherboard, and I'm going to sell those as a working, functioning set. And then I'm going to put a new motherboard, new CPU, and a 32 gig RAM kit, because it's 2020, you should have 32 gigs of RAM, into those systems, because I know everything will just work perfectly. I know that AMD has sold everybody on this, but you can upgrade your CPU. You just upgrade your CPU. You don't have to buy a new motherboard. You know, it really hasn't worked out that great.
No.
And if you're watching this and you say, but mine worked, great.
Go buy a lotto ticket.
If none of them worked, then obviously it would be all the tech tubers would be doing nothing but talking about this. Obviously it works most of the time for a lot of people, usually. I have had enough fussiness across enough machines that I am done with messing with it. It's just, I've had too many headaches and too many kerschnuffles.
If you want the experience, go for it. But if you don't...
I figured that B350 Tomahawk in my daughter's computer is maybe, with the package, between $50 to $70 in value at this point. Maybe $75 being really generous. Okay, so this was $150. Fine. So for $75, I can make all that headache go away. And get a motherboard with better features.
That's true.
But I can make all that go away. Mm-hmm. My frustration and headache and worry and worrying about a week after it's there, why is my game crashing? Why did I have this problem? Oh, is it because I didn't upgrade the motherboard? Is it? Is it the RAM? Is it something else? I don't want to worry about that. And since we're going to upgrade it to 32, is 32 going to work in that B350? Do I have to completely replace the... I don't want this headache.
Yeah.
My life is too short to deal with that for $75. So I'm going to sell the current motherboard, the current CPU, the current RAM, and the current cooler as a match set and say, you know what? I can promise you that as we have this installed right now, this is 100% stable and it doesn't crash. So, her computer at home has a Zen 2 in it with a X370, which is why I did this.
World of Warships actually has been crashing. I'll be playing it and it'll just completely shut down and terminate.
I'm going to make that problem go away. Because I can sell your current motherboard. Actually, you've got an ASUS Crosshair Hero 6. If I could sell your current motherboard for $100, it'll cost me $50 and I'll make your problem go away and I'll get you a 500 series board.
There we go.
Which we could then upgrade to Zen 3 because they're not making a new motherboard for Zen 3.
That's very true.
So to Andrew, if you want my honest advice, sell your 1700X, your RAM, your cooler, and your CPU along with your current motherboard as a set and just replace it. That's my opinion.